Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to Warrior TV. I'm Abigail, the musical warrior, and I'm with Adam, the mental health warrior. And today we're going to be talking about some of the challenges when going back to university and college. So the start of the year for students can often bring lots of changes for themselves, but also their families and friends. So what do you think are the biggest challenges for students as they start this higher education?
I think the anxiety and the pressure of actually going back anyway, because it'll be a new environment. They're coming across new classes, new teachers, and new all sorts of topics they're going to be studying over the year.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of changes, really, isn't it? In every part of their life, really. You know, changes in sort of the academic stuff they've been learning, because it's quite different to school. Changes with probably, well, maybe who they're living with if they move away, where they're living, friends, because it's quite difficult to keep in touch with sort of old school friends as well, I think.
That's true. That's true.
So just generally dealing with all of them. Yeah. And I guess being in a new place as well, sort of, if you're living somewhere, you know where everything is, you can get around easily. But being in a new place and having to go to different places for different lectures and stuff, or to meet new people and everything, it's just quite a lot to cope with.
Exactly. But it can also be a lifeline as well for people that's like, for example, with all these lockdowns and restrictions going, and the victims of, for example, domestic violence or domestic abuse, and when they go back to university or college, they've got that lifeline, so they're practically free to do what they need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely can help as well. And especially, I suppose, with the pandemic as well. And a lot of universities have been doing it online the past year. So actually going back to in-person stuff is potentially less stressful than having to cope with all online teaching. And then it provides a chance for people to actually connect with other people in person again.
Absolutely. Even though I've had enough of Zoom now, because the amount of homeschooling we did on Zoom.
Yeah, I think most people have had enough of Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely. But the teachers would have been feeling anxious as well in going back to work when it comes to university, because they're not always set on just one class. Like, they get moved around all the time as well.
Yeah, it would be. And especially because, you know, the unis and colleges and stuff are trying to do in-person things, but they kind of have to have in place stuff for online. And some people I know in my course are still doing remote learning as well. And so the teachers kind of having to deal with both sides and sort of multiple plans in place in case things go wrong, and then they themselves not really knowing what's going to happen. Must be pretty stressful for them too.
Exactly, because they've always got it back of their mind. Like, for example, online learning, when they're doing online Zooms, they're doing a class to like 30 plus students, and then always back of the mind, is someone breaking up, or is someone not paying attention? So then they have to repeat themselves over and over. So that could be stressful as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then what about for like the students' families? Because I think it must be a difficult time for them as well, you know, like parents, siblings, grandparents, all of that. Do you think, what are some of the difficulties that they might face?
Well, it is known that when someone goes back to like college or university, parents or grandparents or carers, whoever looks after the child, will be like, right, go on, get lost, get out of the house. But then once they're gone, I think the shock hits them, and it's like with me, I know we're going not much off topic, but like when I've never cried when it comes to taking the kids to school and then walking away, but this year I did, and it broke my heart because obviously I didn't want them going back, but the anxiety there and the gut feeling of are they okay, and like if they've got mental health challenges as well, are they going to be safe? Are they going to be up to mischief? Just stuff like that. The constant triggers coming to you.
Yeah, just sort of that general worry how they're going to cope with everything. And yeah, I think missing them a lot and sort of coping even with like everyday life without them there. You know, if you're used to sort of being a family of 5, for example, and one of them goes off to university or college, then having to deal with that person going off. You know, I'm sure like they get used to it eventually. It doesn't make them miss them any less, but they get used to it. But to start with, it can be quite difficult, I think.
Yeah, exactly. See, our kids are at school now, and I'm already missing them. I miss them as soon as they just leave the house. That's how much it is.
Yeah, so it would be even harder if they're like living away as well.
Yes. Let's
So
cover
when
that.
they go to uni.
Yeah, let's cover that when they're like one half of the country, different halves of the country.
Yeah, I mean, quite different half of the country, but I went to Cambridge. I'm from Liverpool, so about 3 to 4 hours drive. And I'd always said I wanted to go sort of within 2 hours, but then Cambridge ended up being my favorite place, so I went there. But it did make it quite difficult to sort of visit and see my parents as much as maybe I wanted to or they wanted to, because it's difficult to sort of keep in contact.
Yeah, well, speaking of your parents, your mother is here. She put very true to everything we're saying.
Yeah.
But I want to ask her a question. So, Helen, if you're still tuned in, what mindset did you have when you found out Abigail was going off to college and university? And it's the same with you. What mindset did you have, Abigail, when you was practically leaving your mum to go off to college and uni?
I mean, it's quite difficult, all the changes. I think maybe slightly different for the student than the parent, but from various other ones and family, because the student, is going off to something new and exciting. And I was so busy, especially in my first year, that, it was almost, obviously I did miss home and I got homesick quite a lot. But when you're that busy, it distracts you from that.
Yeah.
But for then the parents, often, if they're just there, they're used to having, and with me as well, as like the youngest child. So from going to having my sister and I in the house and then to having no one in the house, it's quite a big change.
Absolutely. Yeah, your mum's put really happy for her and her new opportunities, but sad because missing her.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. But yeah, it's still difficult when you miss each other. And thankfully we're closer now because I'm doing my master's in Manchester, which is only 40 train ride from Liverpool. So see each other more now.
Oh, Manchester, that's
but it can be difficult for other people. Or
yeah,
even,
yeah. Well, Manchester's only an hour on the train from us, where we are.
Yeah, pretty close then.
Very close. Yes. So, yeah. I won't just say it's the student going off to like college and university, but it's also a big step for a student to go off from primary school to secondary school as well. The anxiety there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Had a few questions. So one from Jeanette. Do you keep things from your parents and don't want to worry them? If so, how do you cope with your concerns and any problems that arise? I don't know if I had sort of that many problems that I kept from them, but I see what you mean, and I think a lot of people do. And I suppose I probably had sort of little things that if I was coming home after school every day, then I would be telling my mum all of that. But then at uni, I just kind of get on with it because you don't want to say anything unless it's sort of a bigger thing, maybe.
Yeah.
And probably coping with that was just through getting support from friends instead, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And my mum said hard because had to deal with empty nest syndrome, but excited for their new phase of life. So yeah, it is difficult. But obviously some students go away and some decide to stay at home. So do you think it's actually harder for the students at home to kind of make friends and fully integrate with the uni life, or do you think it's better that they're actually with me?
In my own honesty, like I'm gonna show my age now. But when I went from primary school to secondary school, I was excited, I was buzzing, ready for it. But then as soon as the first day hit, that was it. It's like it's a new place. We have to like restart all over, like reset our mind all over again, and get new friends and stuff like that. Yeah, because it's like our lives start all over again. Um, yeah, yeah. Were you in the same boat as well when you went from primary to secondary?
So mine was primary and secondary, they were part of the same school. So I didn't really
Oh,
have much problem going between them because they were all mostly the same friends anyway.
okay. What about from school to like college or college to university?
Again, sixth form was part of the school, so that was fine. The university was probably the main thing, the difference. Changing, losing contact with school friends, having to make lots of new friends.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
My sister Esther had said she stayed at home for uni and found it hard because a lot of people made friends in halls and a lot of events happened in halls. There was a sense of feeling left out or forgotten by the university at times. And I think that's kind of what I was trying to suggest, that maybe it can be hard who do stay at home. And obviously, but they kind of need the family support, or they want to be in the same city that they grew up in or whatever. But I think it can be hard sometimes, especially if you get groups or cliques of friends and then they kind of forget about the other people traveling in because they're just bothered about who lives closest to them or who can do things with them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So after seeing all these comments, Abigail, how do you feel now you've seen all this?
Brilliant. I kind of knew all of it already, so I'm not that surprised.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, well, you're in the
yeah, it's
world now.
interesting that. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting Esther said about, feeling forgotten by the university at times, because it brings up interesting what universities can do. And I'm pretty sure with Manchester, because I'm sort of living a bit out of the city, not in the main uni campuses, and they were saying they'd have a thing for people living further out to try and put us in sort of buddy groups, I think, so we can have support like in our area. But they said they'd do it, and I haven't heard any more about it. But something like that and actually following through could be a useful way of sort of connecting with the people who aren't living in the halls, as long as they actually do it. But just generally as well, do you think sort of university colleges to help students with their mental health?
They do, but I think they could do more. Because in most colleges, there's not always that safe space for someone to go and talk to someone or stuff like that. And I think that's why bullying is on the rise when it comes to like schools, colleges. Like I don't know about bullying in universities because obviously I've never been to university, but yeah, definitely schools and colleges. I feel like there's more need to come from that.
Yeah, I agree. I think they generally sort of are getting better at trying to help now. The more sort of charities like us really try and sort of the stigma of mental health, I think it's getting it across to sort of education that they need to do more to help themselves. And I know Manchester University provides a free mental app to all students. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily help everyone, but it's got sort of loads of articles and tips in, and provides like live chats as well. So that's obviously helpful, and I'm sure the universities will do.
Maybe you should put the mental health warriors in there.
What was that? Yeah. My mum said, needs to be more out there to help, but think more now than when I was that age. So I think, that's sort of from the breaking down of the stigma and trying to make it part of every life to care for our mental health. But do you think, I mean, it's hard to tell, but do you think students maybe make use of what's on offer as much as they can?
Honestly, I say no. Why I say no? Because I feel like they're ashamed to actually speak out in the fear of being judged or criticised. And that's why they don't come forward as much as they're supposed to.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially sort of amongst your peers. I suppose you don't want to admit any failings or difficulties or whatever, so you think it's fine, I'll just brush it under the carpet, I'll get on with it. But instead, actually, it is really important that they make use of everything that's on offer. It's difficult. Like in Cambridge, we were sort of assigned a tutor to speak about any problems, but it was kind of hard to do that to start with because we just met this person, so we really trust them, and they weren't like a licensed therapy counsellor or anything. They were just sort of one of the fellows or academics at the university who just got assigned a group of people to sort of check up on. But if there's like no connect, if there's any problems, then you're not really going to. But for unis that do offer sort of the mental health apps or online chats or even counselling, I think a lot of them do, then you need to make the most of it sort of when you feel ready and able to. My mum said, Abigail, do you mean you knew it already about knowing the problems out there? Yeah, maybe, but also just generally how you all felt with my mum missing me and Esther sometimes finding it hard, not holes and stuff. And Esther said, comparing how it is at the moment working in a university compared to how it was when I attended university as a student. I feel like there are a lot more conversations and a lot more signposting. I don't remember any support services being mentioned to us while I was a student. If we wanted, if we wanted anything, we had to find it all out ourselves. That just within a few years, really. Because Esther's sort of 5-6 years older than me, whereas now I'm getting sort of these free apps and stuff. But when she was there, they had to find it out for themselves. So at least I suppose it's showing good progress in recent years. It's just a shame that it wasn't there earlier.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that Esther's brought up the word signposting, because I'm currently studying with a college myself, but it's all online when it comes to self-harm and suicide prevention. And the best key thing is in there is definitely signposting and definitely communication as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. My mum said there's still shame and stigma attached to mental health, so it's still hard for younger people to sometimes reach out for help. All those things available are definitely beneficial, though, and real progress. Which, yeah, that's all true.
That's why, Helen.
And I think sometimes for younger people, they kind of think.
Yeah, sorry. That's why, Helen, mental health warriors are here to break that stigma.
Yeah, and I think for younger people, sometimes they might think, yeah, there's more of a stigma for them because they need to have gone through something or suffered something or had more bad experiences almost to be able to justify asking for sort of that help and counselling and anything. But obviously, there's a lot of things that they're going on in their lives that, will help if they do get that sort of therapy and help as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't agree more.
So before we finish, do you kind of have any self-help tips for students dealing with all the changes?
Absolutely. Reach out, because like we said in the Mental Health Warriors Awareness Day video, if you reach out, you'd be amazed about who's actually willing to listen. You would.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I went on the free app for this to get a little bit of research, and some of the ideas they suggest to kind of sort of smooth the way and getting used to going to uni or college or whatever. They had a few ideas, so I'll just go through some of them. So one of them was organize finance ahead and check that you've completed student finance. Also make use of student discount and deals. And obviously finance related, that can cause a lot of stress as well, sort of having to budget and deal with money yourself. But again, yeah, if you don't know what to do, reach out and ask someone. Then another one was bring lots of reminders from home to make yourself feel at home in your new place and feel comfortable, even though you're not home, if you have moved away, that is. They also suggest staying in touch with old friends, which can be difficult, especially if you're all going off trying different things, but kind of check in with each other when you can. There's lots of societies at universities and stuff, so just try whichever ones you want and try and make some new friends through that. Familiarize yourself with reading materials for the course, because sometimes it's stressful if you don't really know what's going on, and you get to a lecture and they're talking about something and you have no idea what it is. So if you have a rough idea, at least it might help. Then take a tour of the new town or city or whatever it is that you're living in, or just walk around, explore it, go to music venues, go to pubs or cafes, whatever, just sort of find out about the local area and where you like to be in. Sometimes keeping daily routines can help, especially if you struggle with workload, I suppose, because that's quite a big step up and having to manage the workload yourself. But also get involved with sports or other societies. Obviously, sports keep you healthy, but those kind of things also give you the breaks that you need from studying, because it might help you do enough work, but then you need to make sure and allow time for sort of whatever you enjoy and social activities and stuff. So there's some of the tips that they give.
Thank you. Now, before we wrap up,
that's okay. I think that's it.
Yeah, before we wrap up, firstly, we apologise. I know there's a massive delay when it comes to between me talking and Abigail talking, or vice versa. So I hope everyone got what they needed from this. I'm sure I did. I don't know about you, Abigail.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And on that note, we will end this. All I've got to say is please tune in tonight, 8 p.m, when Warrior TV will be live with host of Dorota, our creative warrior. She'll be interviewing someone called Christopher Roche. And yeah, that's all I've got to say. Is there anything else you want to say, Abigail?
No, I think we've covered everything.
Brilliant. Right. Okay, then. Right. I will see you all again. Yeah, I'm back tomorrow. So, yeah, there you go. Right. We'll see you again tonight. Bye.
Okay.